Hey, welcome to Keight Krafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you what I made for my stop on the old and new A Fab 5 Hop and Giveaway. Let's get started. To jump right into things, I am taking some shimmer cardstock and loading it up with some double-sided tape, and I will be taping on this pearlescent vellum. Now the reason for this is because I don't want any of the background of my card to show through, because I'm going to do a little stamping. Now I wasn't sure which ink to use for these, but after talking to a crafty friend of mine, I figured why not try the Distress Oxide ink. And what do you know, if you let it set aside for a while, it actually sticks to the vellum. Now I don't know about regular vellum, but this worked out quite nice, so I'll set that off to the side. Off camera, I've gone ahead and used the Slimline Simple Stitched Hillside border, as well as the sandy beach accent to create my little hills. This is going to be the foreground of my cemetery scene, and these are going to be where my tombstones will sit. So while I continue to ink blend my little heart out, now would probably be a good time to mention that Lawn Fawn is sponsoring today's Fab 5 Hop with a $25 gift certificate to their shop. How cool is that? To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is leave a comment on each of the videos in our hop for a chance to win. 5 videos, 1 comment on each equals 5 chances to win. This hop will run from October 1st, 2022 and close October 9th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The winner will be announced on October 12th, 2022, and you will have 1 week to claim your prize. So good luck to you. And with that being said, all I am doing here is ink blending with my oxide inks, and the oxide inks that I'm using today are Mowed Lawn, Forest Moss, and Rustic Wilderness, I believe. So I'm just going to add some of that forest moss and some black soot. Oh yeah, I'm using that one too. And I'm going to ink up on my stamping block with a little bit of water and mix those two to get a little bit of a darker color and just kind of flick them everywhere, just to give it a little texture. And to add a little bit more dark to it, I'm going to take my overly dry tube of black acrylic paint, add some more forest moss on there, add a little bit more water to my paintbrush, and mix that up so I could get like a really dark green to add a little bit more texture to this panel because I like to splatter. It's a lot of fun. So moving on here, I have got some mustard seed and some spice marmalade and some abandoned coral. And this is going to be the colors that I will use for my moon, which I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with this. I thought about using these as the sky, but after talking to a crafty friend of mine, she suggested, why don't I use that for the moon and make the sky a little bit more moodier, so that way this will pop out a little bit better. And I thought that was a swell idea. So here I am, just going back and forth, trying to blend out my ink blending as best that I can, and always make sure that when you do go in with your lightest color that you're not picking up whatever's left on your workspace, because I tend to do that often, and sometimes I'm not very proud of it. So once I've ink blended all that up, I'm going to take some of my pearlescent, oh no, sorry, these aren't my pearlescent. These are my Fine Tech iridescent watercolors, and I'm going to do a little bit of splattering on the moon, again, to give it more texture, because I like to splatter. So once I've got that set aside and drying, I'm going to use my Hillside stitched border here, and I'm going to create a line where I need to ink blend down. I don't need to ink blend down all the way to the bottom because that's going to be covered up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my moody sky, and I will use some stormy sky, some wilted violet, and some villainous potion. And to top everything all off, I'll go around the edges with some black soot. Now this was a lot of fun to make. We came together with an idea of using old and new stamps to create a Halloween scene, and I was just over the moon thrilled. This is one of my favorite times of the year, when the seasons are starting to change and all the colors are coming out in the leaves, and you know, fall is here and Halloween is just on the horizon, and I don't know, October's probably a fun month for me, I would say. So I just wanted to create something super spooky, and I thought, well, why not go with a graveyard scene? Because, truth be told, I live by quite a few graveyards. In fact, our neighbors in behind my house are quite quiet at that. Probably the best neighbors I've ever had. Anyway, so back into my fine tech iridescent watercolors, I'm going to take up some more of that gold, and of course I'm going to splatter, because splattering is a lot of fun. And I'll do that in both directions, just cuz. Next up, I've cut out the Build-A-Barn die twice with some white cardstock. And for the first one, I'm just going to cut off the top part of the barn, because I kind of want this to be a little bit dimensional, but not too much. And then for the second cutout, I'm going to take my T-square ruler and measure out a 1/2 centimeter on each side and draw a line, because that's where I want to cut. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to take the top part of the barn down to create more of a bell tower. Because this is going to be that little white church out in the middle of nowhere with the cemetery attached to it. And I thought it would be neat, because there is actually a cemetery out in the county that you can see driving along one of the county highways, and there's a little white building out there that kind of resembles a church, and there used to be an abandoned house. I don't know if it's still there. It's been a minute since I've gone out that way to check it out, but I don't know, I thought I'd kind of draw a little inspiration from that memory that I have. So all I'm doing here is I've taken a ruler and I've drawn out my little wooden slats for my church, and now I'm taking some end markers, which I believe are the N4, N2, and N0, and I'm just kind of highlighting really quick those bricks. I'm not being precise about it, it's just kind of messy, because once I go in with that N0 over the N2 and N4, it's just going to kind of blend it all in together and give it a little more texture. I don't want this to be perfect, because it's an old white wooden church, you know, the kind that you see out in a spooky county on a gloomy night. So you can kind of see the beginnings of it right here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some double-sided tape and some glue around the edges, and then I'm going to line that up carefully, and so you don't see it off the bottom. And I'm not worried about the top, because that top bit, like in between the seam there, they're going to be covered up with what would be like the barn roofs. So again, I'm just taking my end markers and darkening up this gray cardstock so it doesn't look so bright. I want this to be dark and gloomy. And once I've done that, I'll add a little bit of glue to the church itself, and then attempt to add little tiny strips of this double-sided tape for my Easy Runner tape. And then I'll stick that on. For the bell tower roof, I didn't use any tape, I just used glue, and I probably could have used a little bit of tape and it would have prevented it from sliding around, but it is what it is. Here I'm taking just a slice of vellum that I had left over from another project, and I'm cutting out a little square that'll sit behind the bell tower. So that way when you see the bell, it's not overpowered by the background. I kind of wanted it to, you know, be a little spooky, and I thought maybe adding a little bit of vellum might help. So this little bell is actually a flower turned upside down, and I thought it would work well being the bell shape. It might be a tulip from the Pivot pop-up or the Double Slider Surprise, I think it was. One of the two. I can't remember at this point. The little bits kind of are lost on me. Luckily I was able to put everything back, but these trees I believe are from the Pivot pop-up, and these were a added bonus for me, I guess. I didn't have any other tree dies that were just dies and not stamps, so I thought I would work with these, and I'm just using some E-markers here to darken up the brown cardstock to keep them moody. Now this piece is from the Double Slider Surprise. Say that 5 times fast. And I thought I would use it just to create a little bit of a door. Again, I could have used one of my paper trimmers to do all of this, but since this is a Lawn Fawn challenge that we've challenged ourselves with to use as many dies and stamps as possible and products from Lawn Fawn, I thought why not? Might be just a little bit easier. I was quite pleased to find out that the Distress Oxide does not come off the pearlescent vellum, but I was careful to add the tape to just the die and the outside paper as I didn't want to pull up the ink. So here I've got the little cat from the tiny Halloween set that I got last year around this time, and I thought I'd do a little bit of a nod to my late cat Zorak. When I was creating this card, this was actually the day of his anniversary of his passing, and while I was doing the little cemetery bits, I thought I'd add him in as one of the ghosts. So now it's time for the fun part, watching the whole scene come together. So I'm just taking some double-sided tape and kind of eyeballing out where I want everything and some glue, and I'll just mash that right down, kind of off-center. Not completely in the center, I just kind of wanted it off-center. Now I probably could have took it a little bit more to the right, but I thought I'd leave it the way it is. Here I'm just taking some double-sided tape so I could pop in my little cemetery pieces, which are the pull tab from the Double Slider Surprise. I thought those looked quite nice for little tombstones. And because I needed a sentiment, and I had already screwed up the first sentiment, I thought I would add a little white banner to my card instead of just having the happy haunting kind of lost in the grass there under the tombstones. So I'm just going to spare you and not show you how I struggled cutting that out, and once I'm done trimming everything down and I'm actually satisfied with it, I'll pop that down to the front of my little hills here. So once that's down, I'll go ahead and add a little bit of glue to the back sides of my tombstones, so that way they're stuck down nice and nobody's popping up. And then I'll think, I'll maybe add that cat later, and I'll add a little bit more of the tape runner to the back side to make sure that those guys are stuck in there nice and secure. Add a little bit more glue, and then I will pop that onto the front. Now I thought about using foam, double-sided foam to kind of prop everything up, but I wanted it to be a flat card. I didn't want to have too much dimension because, I don't know, I kind of liked the way it was going. Now here I thought I would add a couple little tiny pieces of paper to the back side of this just to kind of prop everything up. But then after a quick consideration of it, I decided, you know what, I don't really need it. I should be fine. So I'm going to throw those bits off to the side, and I'm just going to add some tape runner to the back and add some more glue because why not? Lots of adhesive, right? And then I'll plop that down. So this barely made it to the top. I was a little worried that I didn't leave enough room for the church when I was cutting everything out, but I had a template that I had already created that I was working from, and I was trying very hard to stick to it. Sometimes I have the tendency of veering off topic or kind of going off the beaten path as far as creativity is concerned. So once I've added my little ghost kitty, I am going to add in the trees. I like how the trees tie the scene together. The scene kind of also reminds me a little of this video game that I play called Baldo, Guardian of the Owls. And there's this part in the video game where Baldo's got to go into the cemetery to find the little ghost girl who gives her this ancient artifact that's supposed to help you through the game, and I don't know, it's all spooky, and there's zombies that pop up out of the ground, and there's little tombstones, and I don't know, it's really nice. It's similar to like a post-apocalyptic game, but set in a different realm, back in time, and I don't know, it's neat. I like these kind of stories and genre and movies and whatnot. Like, I love all of, well, not all of, but most Tim Burton movies and stuff like that. So the spooky and the odd and the creepy, it really gets my goat. I love it. So anyway, I'm just going to stick a block on all those, and then I'm going to grab some of these Zots, I believe they're called. The little sticky dots that come on a roll of backside of a tape kind of thing. And I'm just going to pop those on the back sides of the little ghosties. And these little ghosties are from the tiny Halloween set that I have. And then I've got the big ghosties that are from the Booyah set. And I'm just going to cover the back sides of those with some of these little dot adhesives and add a little bit more glue just to make sure, because I've had these dot sticky bits for a while and I don't know if they lose their stickiness. I don't know. I've only had them for a year, so who knows. And I thought maybe I would use these bigger ones from the dollar store, but I wasn't really feeling them when I pulled them apart, so I figured I'd just use some tape runner on it. And of course add some more glue because I overdo it with the adhesive. So I'm going to pop that down and then I'll move on to my next. And then I see, you know, at the top corner there that I kind of touched it with something. I'm not sure what, but I notice it and I don't want to smear it, so I just leave it. And I've learned in the past that if I take a little bit of a straight pin with some water on it and just drag it across, I can lift up some of that ink and almost create like a shooting star. Now, if I want to do this and take it one step further, I can go over those little bits that were lifted with the water with a jelly roll pen. And this is one of the clear Stardust pens, which is has a forever home on my desk because between this and the Wink of Stella, I absolutely love these, especially on Lawn Fawn critters. I think it's just so magical. And because it's so magical, I'm going to add some of the glitter Stardust to the trees and to the tombstones and to the church, just to kind of give it more of that magical, eerie, creepy feel. Although, this is more cute than creepy, I think. I don't know, what do you think? You think this is creepy? Do you think this is cute? Or, yeah, maybe I've just lost my marbles, which is okay. And here you have my finished card. Don't forget to leave your comment down below for your chance to enter to win the $25 gift certificate to the Lawn Fawn store. And if you got some extra time, check out some of the other videos in our Fab 5 Hop, sponsored by Lawn Fawn. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care, and good luck.